Hey guys, Rich Lopez with the Droptine Traditions, episode 127. My guest this evening is Mr. Mike Mitten. How you doing, Mike?
Hey, I'm doing great. It's a great day.
Absolutely. Before we begin, I just want to acknowledge the supporters, Traps Feather Rests, Traditional Bowhunter Magazine, Sauk Trail Archery, StickbowSupplies.com, Whiskey City Trad Gear or WCTrad.com, JesseSavageBlacksmith.com. I got to go back to Jesse Savage. This guy's, most supporters would be archery related. He does shoot bows and stuff like that, traditional archery, but he's an incredible blacksmith and he's into vampires. I'm into vampires. And the occult, stuff that went on in Salem, Massachusetts, stuff like that. I love the guy. Traditionaljunk.com, St. Joe River Bow Company, theethicalpredator.com, and stickbowhuntsmx.com. Those are my boys in Durango, Mexico, that the PBS guys have been using as of late for javelina and hog. It's been
Oh,
outstanding. Uh, so, Mike, you were my guest back on episode 40 when I was doing this strictly on Spotify and
yeah,
off the cuff,
yeah,
very crude.
yeah.
That was April 2nd, 2024. You've been a busy bee since
I,
then.
yeah, I've been a little busy. Been working on a new video, a sequel to Chasing Solitude, my moose hunting film. I used to have it on DVD, but I launched it about a month ago on YouTube, so guys can check that out. And then I put together a book. It took a long time, but eventually you get to the point where you want to finish up the book and write it. And I just launched that about 2 weeks ago, The Enchantment of Bowhunting.
And actually, I wasn't able to read the whole thing because I only got it like 2 weeks ago. So I've just been going through snippets of each chapter,
Yeah.
and it's a very captivating book, from what I'm seeing. Uh, so far, how has it been? Because it's been 16 years since your last book.
Yeah.
One with the Wilderness. Is that still available for the public?
Sure. Yeah, that's available. It's on my website, herdbullproductions.com.
It's One with the Wilderness: Passions of a Solo Bowhunter. I've noticed of the two books, because I re-flipped through the first book the other day. The writing style is recognizable because I've seen your stuff throughout the years in magazines, TBM, and namely, and PBS and whatnot. Uh, the new book appears to be more reflective, almost like a life well lived. Was that a personal choice?
Yeah, I think so. I want to tell stories, but I also want to put in a little bit of my soul in it, a little nugget in each chapter. My other book, I gave a little more tips and so forth, whereas this one, I want to sort of talk about the benefits that I've had, and hopefully other hunters will have, and even non-hunters could experience through bow hunting. Like I call it the collateral benefits. And so you might look for those in each chapter, sort of a, a hunt there to find each little piece that I'm talking about in each chapter. I won't talk about them here, but it's up to you to find them and look for them in each chapter, and that might be what you're talking about.
Well, actually, when I started the book, and I've been perusing through the other chapters, I've been a very busy insurance adjuster lately with all
Yeah,
these
yeah,
floods in Texas and whatnot.
yeah.
Um, I want to say chapter one hit me. Uh, um, I found chapter one to be my favorite. The reflection on your late wife, Paula. And it was especially touching to me because I've had a recent issue with my wife. And it's just, it churns the waters, if you will.
Yeah.
So,
I know what you mean.
I'm sorry.
Yes, I know what you mean. My friend Matt Smith, he laid out and helped me with my first book. He actually did the printing on the first book, and after we got done laying it out and so forth, and also a friend Steve Osminski, who did some of the editing for me out of Michigan, and his comment was that the first chapter was like that was a good chapter. It seemed like his favorite chapter. I mean, it's not the grand adventures, and And some of that stuff was in One with the Wilderness. I wrote all these grand stories of solo hunts and so forth all over the country, going to Alaska. But people would respond to the small little things. Like I used to trap too. I used to trap muskrats and coons, and that's how I made my way through college. And other people would respond to those things. And
Right.
so I learned from those comments and some of the responses that I got from One with the Wilderness, that those are the small things that people gravitate to and the personal stuff. So, with a context of collateral benefits, how could I not, talk about my wife Paula and all the benefits that I had? If you read the chapter, but she passed just within a month of the launch of One with the Wilderness, and so that tied up a lot of and filled a lot of holes and spaces in my life at that time. The grief and all that stuff was filled, like I didn't have as much time for it as your brain is thinking about promotion of this book, and it kind of went on tour and things like that. And I know other people have had similar responses to me, and you can read some of that in basically the first two chapters. Actually, one of them, the hunting part, and then one of them building a bow. So I'm building a bow, you know, to occupy my time, which I haven't made a lot of bows, so it's a kind of a learning thing. And I made a one piece recurve. It was my third or fourth one, but I made it during that time and then went to hunt with it. And you can read about that in chapter 2. So chapters 1 and 2 are sort of tied together. And the collateral benefits, I mean, the benefits of the outpouring of bow hunters and everybody that knew me through Primal Dreams and just PBS and Compton's traditional bow hunters and so forth. The outreach, sort of brought me through, a pretty, low time in your life, So,
Well, it's
and,
it's one giant family.
yeah. And so, the grief, and then without some relationship with God, it's pretty hard for a lot of people that don't have some sort of relationship with God. So I have to write that into there as well. So, um, I'm getting a lot of comments of people. Of course, they start with the book and the introduction, and Monty Browning writes the forward and all that. Then they get through the first 2 or 3 chapters. Well, those are pretty powerful chapters. And I fall into Bart Schleier. He passed away, and so some of those things are all sort of on the same theme right away. And so you know what you're getting into, and hopefully there's enough momentum to carry you through to the end of the book. A lot of people, they just start to read and they lose interest. Well, hopefully, I can carry that interest all the way to the end, because the end chapters of most books tie everything together, and hopefully, I've done that with this one.
Well, I like it that towards the end you have Mike's musings
Yeah, yeah,
and your thoughts on stuff.
yeah.
And it was funny because tonight my wife goes to me, and I'm going crazy right now because she's frying up onions, and that's my favorite smell of all time.
Oh, yeah,
And I've got the doors closed, but it's just coming in.
yeah.
Um, she goes, "So who are you interviewing tonight?" And I said, "The dude that sent me the book, Mike Mitten." And my artwork's on the cover. She goes, "Oh yeah." And I said, "By the way, let me read you a couple of snippets." So I read her a couple of snippets from chapter 1.
Yeah,
And she goes, "Oh, I was going to ask if he was married." I said, "Yeah, he's still married mentally,
yeah,
and in his heart." And she's like, "Wow," she stopped. She was silent. You know, those things start coming back into your head.
yeah,
Um, and I'm lucky that she's around. I'm fortunate, in that sense. Um, she had a brain tumor, so that was
yeah.
tough. Um, so let's go back to the book itself. Like I said, it's been 16 years. Was this on the chalkboard, so to speak, 16 years
Well,
ago after the first book? Or
yeah.
did you wait a couple of years and start thinking, maybe I should start doing something again?
Yeah, it's funny you ask. I like to write, and being a solo hunter, this allows me to share my experiences with others. I'm in a campsite, in other words, that people don't know. I go to Montana or Colorado or Alaska or New Mexico for 2 to 3 weeks at a time and hunt solo. So there's no one in camp to tell my story to or live the experience with me. And so when I come back, it's purely mine. It's purely my story. And I take video. So I've been doing that. So once I come back, I like to write and submit articles to various magazines, Traditional Bowhunter Magazine, PBS Magazine, or Compton's Walk in the Woods, or Trad Archer's World, and Bowhunter Magazine. I mean, just different ones to help me relive those stories and actually share them with somebody. So that's the point of it. Then you start having a collection of basically articles, but to bring them together into a book, then that's the big push, the big workload that
Yeah.
you gotta say. It's behind the scenes. I did one. I didn't think I would ever do another one, but in the meantime, I'm going to these shows. I'm going to uh, different trade shows, and the Compton's Rendezvous and ETAR is the Eastern Traditional Archers Rendezvous, and different deer classics. And during that time, shortly before one with the wilderness, I was on Sitka's pro staff. So on the pro staff, we were sort of required to go to a few more shows, the Iowa Deer Classics and the Trad Bow Hunting Expo in Kalamazoo. But
I think we froze up here.
towards the end here, maybe the last, people will come up, when you're going to write another book. I just finished that book, and I don't want it to end. I want it to keep going. Where's the next book? So you hear it from people. But as I was on the board with Compton's the last 4 years, I kept getting, a person would come up to me and ask, Mr. Mitten, he was a young guy, when are you going to write another book? And I said, oh, I don't know if I got it in me, whatever. It's a lot of work, and more or less brush it off. But into my brain, he comes back the following year. A year later, I'm at the rendezvous or at Compton's, and the same boy, the same young man, he's getting older, he's a year older. He asked me again, where's that new book? You got to come out with it. Then about 3 years in a row, the same kid is coming out. So then I thought, well, maybe I have it in me. And then the spark of it all was, this past year, I was in Alaska hunting moose solo again, and the weather was so bad. I was socked in the tent for 2 or 3 days, and I write during those times when I'm down. So I wrote actually 3 chapters. That sounds really good. You wrote 3 chapters, but it's bad if you're hunting moose. That means you're stuck in camp long enough to write 3 chapters in a book. I mean, you're not hunting because bad weather. But once I came out of it, I ended up, went from 10 to 12, went from 15 to 18 chapters, basically, if I pull them all together over that time frame. And then so I wrote the remaining, whatever, 21 chapters, or you could call them chapters. Some are poems, some are vignettes. But in the book, I ended up with 40 so-called chapters. And so I did that between last September and January or February, when I started the full editing of it. So
Mhm.
basically, I took the point to, why do I want to write? Why do I want to share my experiences? Well, I want to change somebody's opinion, or I want to help somebody's motivation, or I want to make somebody's life, tied in with mine, or all these different reasons an author writes, help them learn something. But I do it not for financial necessarily. Of course, I'm going to, charge for the book or what have you, get back some of the print costs. But if it's just one person, we say, sometimes figuratively, oh, if I reach one person, that's good enough. Well, basically, I wrote this book for this one young man that's come to me 3 years in a row. So I'm writing to him, and I hope he appreciates it. But in the meantime, everyone else can enjoy
Well,
this book.
it's good that the guy was a
That's how it
motivator.
came out.
Yeah, he was a
Yeah.
motivator for sure.
And yes, and he found, like I try to find value in other people or so forth. Well, this young man found value in me, and value in my words. So that's sort of, how you expose your soul, so to speak. You don't stay hidden. And that's what people think of me a lot of times, because I'm maybe not as outgoing, but I can be. It's just prodding or whatever. I'm just, a loner type of thing. No, not really. I have a large family, it's maybe how I come across, until you get to know me. And so this is my way to let people know me, to write the books and the videos that sometimes go along with them.
The first time I met you was at ETAR, and Tommy Phillips had I think a clam bake or some kind of a,
Mhm.
and it was
Yeah,
you, Gene, and
yeah,
Barry Wenzel. Man, we had a
yeah,
blast. I ate a lot
yeah,
that night.
yeah. That was probably 2006 or something like that, or it was
Yeah,
probably a while after we launched Primal Dreams.
yeah, exactly.
Um,
That was like 20 years ago
yeah, yeah.
when when I didn't have gray hair. I mean, you know. So you went to ETAR this year with the boys. How did that turn out? How was the
Well,
reception?
actually, Barry has a book out. He's been on tour doing his whitetail seminars, while Gene's had issues with his wife Donna, and so he has been kind of separate from the team. And I don't have anything. I didn't have anything new. So Barry's been kind of doing his own thing. And then Gene wrote a book just coincidentally, and he launched his in February or March of this year, called Whitetails, etc. So he wants to get his book out and go out on tour. So those guys booked ahead of time and did some seminars. So they had the booth of their own. And then I didn't know if I was, you're dealing with printers. You never know if you're going to make the printing, if they come when they say they're going to come and all that. So I couldn't commit to ETAR to get a booth um, ahead of time. So I was sort of out. But then my book did show up. It did launch July 10th. So now I have time, but I don't have a booth. But I was on the board with Compton's, and they graciously allowed me, a little piece of real estate in their booth, and I was able to pitch the book as well as promote Compton's at the same time. And we were only down the way a little bit from Gene and Barry, so I was around them a little bit and so forth. So the team was almost back together, the Brothers of the Bow. But anyway,
It's like a rock band.
yeah, that's a great time. So yeah, it went really well. A great response. Of course, my book's only been out for 2 weeks or 2.5 weeks, so this is the launch of it. And then I'm not sure when you're going to air this podcast, but
I'll tell you, Saturday.
okay, good. So
Yeah, I wanted to strike while the iron is hot because I know you're
yeah,
gearing up for hunting season.
yeah,
And speaking of that, have you started your workout routine with the backpack and the lawnmower?
yeah, yeah. What he's talking about is I have about an acre and a half of yard, and I've always mowed it with just a push mower. But then as it gets closer to hunting season, like the beginning of July, then when you mow, I put the 80-pound bag of sand in a backpack and push the mower with the weight. So I'm killing two birds with one stone,
Yeah.
training as well as getting the grass mowed. And that style, like, oh, why don't you just walk with the backpack? That's more controlled and so forth, and your muscles sort of get used to it. But when you're twisting every
Yeah.
turn, every corner, like a race car, every left-hand turn and around rough ground, and plus you're pushing the mower. It trains you to be more upright with your back as you're pushing, so it forces you to do that, and also that contorting and twisting is more accurate because you're going to be on some rough ground, some muskeg and falling in swamps and just different things packing out a moose.
Well, I
And
would
yeah,
imagine that would also build up your agility and
yeah, that's
your balance.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, so all
Yeah.
that goes together. But
So I gotta ask you, Mike,
mhm.
the shirt you're wearing, did you get that from Denny Sturgis?
Oh no, it's just I don't know. It's been 90 degrees here all day, and I was worried about. I don't have air conditioning in the house. I have it in the bedrooms and stuff, but I didn't want to have a fan blowing on me and ruin your great sound that you got here on the Zoom.
No, I just had
But
to throw that in there because it's immediately the first
oh, I
thing I
know,
thought of.
I know.
You know, all right, I got my Sturgis starter kit, and
Yeah, well,
Denny will hear this.
Denny will be out. He'll be out in like sub-zero weather, dressed like this. So
Yeah.
I'm not quite that hardcore.
Yeah, so today the heat index was 115,
Yeah,
and it
yeah,
was crazy, man. I can't even get in the shop. It's just brutal.
yeah.
Uh,
Well, 2 hours ago we had a little rain, so it cooled off just now. Perfect timing for me to talk with you guys.
so in Florida, we have this really cool weather system where we're getting Saharan dust from the Sahara Desert coming across in our atmosphere, and it's wreaking havoc on the atmosphere, and it's causing storms, which is great because storms lower the temperature.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping to see something exciting in about an hour or two, but hopefully, it won't interfere with our podcast. Uh,
Yeah, it sounds like cloud seeding or whatever they call it.
yeah, something. I just
Yeah.
I just say, yep, okay. So how have sales been to date? It's only been 2 weeks.
Yeah, so it's been great. I numbered the first 100 books just to give people who buy it and actually give me the trust to fork out quite a bit of money and shipping and all that and buy it sight unseen. I numbered those in on internet sales. So as of today, I think I moved 20 cases of books so far with with the rendezvous and the online sales. So
Sweet.
I say it's really good.
I would think so. And by the way, I want to thank you for the copy you sent me and allowing me or giving me the honor and the privilege of donating my art to you.
Yeah,
For yep,
this is the cover. This was
yep,
what Rich is talking about. He drew this. I don't know if you can see it there, but he drew an elk antler with a with
the arrow.
moose. Yeah, I said elk moose antler with an arrow on it. And anyway, you can post it. But
And these are his books, both of them.
okay.
Guys, pick them up.
And to me, the enchantment of bow hunting, the title, if you ever look up the word enchantment, there's about uh, uh, 50 synonyms or whatever. I mean, so many other words can be plugged in there. But so I want to tie in the cover, sort of tying in the modern traditional bow hunter with the ancestry, with ancestral bow hunters. So that graphic, that art, the pencil drawing of the moose and the arrow and the napped head, ties the modern traditional bow hunter to ancestral hunters of so that's kind of how I was thinking of it, and it worked out pretty well. I'm getting the cover pops pretty well online
Oh yeah.
and at the shows and stuff. And the picture I think is of me in a solo hunt in Montana. The
Yep.
cover.
Beautiful. I love it. A lot of color, a lot of vibrant reds and yellows. That's always an
uh,
attractant. Uh,
Matt, my friend Matt Smith, I mentioned his name earlier. He did the layout of the book, a lot of the layout, so forth. The technical part of wrapping words around the photos and our selection and so forth, and then the cover he worked up, and sort of, because we're traditional bow hunters and sort of modest and stuff. And he goes, well, a lot of people aren't familiar with Herd Bull Productions. I mean, Herd Bull is your website and so forth, your so-called brand and everything. We haven't pushed it enough. He said, "Well, you're the brand, So I got my name pretty bold on the cover, and I was like, oh well, but I took his advice, and so anyway, that's the cover. So hope everyone enjoys it.
Now, is the book so if somebody went to, let's say, Barnes and Noble, no
Yeah.
way. No, they got to get it through you, correct?
Yeah, I don't have it anywhere else but here yet. I want to give, I guess, the people that supported me over the years first crack at it and so forth. In other words, I don't have it anywhere else. I'll take on dealers and so forth, probably in February or January or February, once I get past this hunting season, because everything's handled by me, and I hope people have patience if they want to order the book, get it before I leave. But I'm generally gone most of September, and actually this year I will be again hunting moose again, solo moose hunting
So
in
I-
3 weeks in September.
I'm gonna reach out to you after the hunting season because I've been
Okay.
working on a book for the last 35 years
Mhm.
and I don't know where to go from here because I've got all the chapters written, but I don't know what else to do.
Yeah,
So I need to talk to you and pick your brains about publishing and stuff like that. And
yeah,
I was going to self-publish. Then I said, you know something? I was in the printing industry for 40 years.
yeah,
So you think I would know, but it's changed. Everything's changed since the
yeah.
digital world.
Yeah, and then so the format of the programs and everything, and what are the requirements for the printing. Each printer has their own requirements.
Hmm.
So the first book was Matt Smith and James W. Smith Printing. So Matt laid it out according to the requirements of his business. And
Okay.
so it went really well. This time I used a different printer, but Matt still laid it out for me. So then there was a little tweaking between the two layouts. I assumed I was going to go with him, but he's just not a book printer, so it was cost effective. But beyond that, there's there's always something.
Well, like with this podcast being now on video on YouTube, I was informed over the weekend that I could hire Filipino people to edit my content. I don't want anybody touching my stuff.
No, no. And that's some of the stuff that I heard from Monty Browning. As I said, Matt Smith did the physical layout, but I'm there with him, every step of the way. Which photos we put in, the captions and so forth. So it really is me, and the editing and so forth. I'm not the greatest speller in the world. Some people aren't, or I can write, but then the spell checks I can't see, right words. So my sister and Steve Osminski helped me with that, and then of course Matt Smith helped with the layout and the photos and things, and some people like a lot of photos, and some books are warrant that how-to books and different technical books. They require a lot of photos, and people say, well, a photo is worth 1,000 words. I go, but I want people to read my words, and then from their own experience, make up their own imagery, have from their own experiences and their own life, that they can imagine something from my words beyond what I'm even writing. And so, therefore, if a picture is worth 1,000 words and you fill your book with pictures, then aren't your words worthless then? So, in
Right.
my mind, so then I didn't want that. So, anyway, I still have 160 colored photos in the book,
Yeah, and
but
that's
there's,
that's
but
that's
they're spaced
amazing.
out. They're
The
spaced
color,
out enough that and it's similar layout to my first book. So
yeah,
I
the
like how my first book did. We did it the same way.
mhm.
uh, the chapter start on the right hand page, and there was a full photo, just like in my other book. My other book, I had vignettes, round vignettes that focus on the photo. And this way, I said, we can go with full page, so you get the whole, as much as the picture as you can. And from my other side, I do video. Well, the videos can tell the rest of the story on some of these chapters, some of the moose hunts and so forth. I have video, which you know, if a picture is worth 1,000 words, the video is worth millions of words. I mean, it's millions of images in the videos, and you can watch them also online on my YouTube channel, Herd Bull Productions on YouTube. So
Speaking of videos, Mike, I played the DVD with you carrying those 200-pound bucks on your shoulders.
yeah,
My wife goes, "How big is that man?" I said, "He's bigger than life." She
yeah,
just looked at me. She goes, "Really?" I'm serious. I said, "Yeah, he's a." And she met you, but she doesn't
yeah,
remember. She doesn't remember yesterday. So
yeah. That's
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
But
And
yeah,
actually,
I mean,
our first date was PBS Banquet, West Virginia.
okay, yeah, it's good. Yeah, I
So
did those.
she's a PBS wife since then.
I did that image at the end of Primal Dreams.
Yeah.
People are looking for the Wenzel humor, and it's sort of a serious film. And then I got the one deer January 31st or December 31st, and I killed the next deer on January 1st. So New Year's Day and New Year's Eve. And then I self filmed carrying those one buck at a time. I had the footage of me going up and down strip mine hills. I had to move the camera, and it's great. I'm breaking the plane of the sun and all that. And then my brother came because Gene shot his giant buck called Woody in Iowa that same weekend. So my brother
Hmm.
went there to film, the recovery of Woody as we're making Primal Dreams. And we're almost at the end, and these footages have put a cap on the film. So anyway, he comes to me and I show him the footage, and he says, "I've never seen any footage like this. That's great. That's the best footage I've ever seen. Coming up the hill. Look at that lighting. That's awesome." He get all these accolades, and he's the editor. So he knows what he's seeing.
Right.
And then he says, "But I
But
never saw a guy carry two deer as he's looking at the two deer laying there. So, I mean, the backstory is, yeah, it's not something that you do, but you do it for the film. And, I just kind of did it more or less as a joke. I said, well, you set the camera up, steady the load. I'll give you one crack at it. Make sure you got everything running, and I'll walk down in front of the camera and hang a left. And so it's about 8 seconds of 10 seconds of footage, but it's right at the end of the film. And then we had a saying. We wrote Primal Dreams. We have this narration of measuring your success in proportion to your effort. And so he had this great success. I mean, what the heck? A guy killed two big bucks, a day apart. That's tremendous success. How can you show that success in a relationship to effort in a short time frame? Well, then we came
perfect.
across
Perfect.
that footage, and then so that's how we capped the end of Primal Dreams. That's the last scene of the film. So,
So the
and then
next
after
time,
that, it gets into, like you were saying, guys. It's like being a gunslinger. Then at that point, guys would come up at shows. Well, I'm going to carry three deer. I'm going to carry three deer, and I'll say, well, I hope you're hunting in Florida.
yeah, yeah, exactly, because they only weigh 40 pounds. And that was
Yeah,
going to be my next segue. I was going to say, Mike, the next time I kill two deer, actually, even up north, I still go up north to hunt, but
yeah,
those are small. So I'll shoot two 40 pounders and I'll just,
yeah.
yeah,
There you go. But still carrying out the moose and stuff like that. That's real. You're still packing out a lot of meat, and then,
yeah.
if you get like 2 years ago, my deer died near the road, so I got a four-wheeler. I put it on one of those plastic sleds, and I rolled him over onto it, and then shoot down the road a mile. And I told my compound hunting friends, that on the other side of town, I said I shot my deer, but I I got lazy. I was so mad at myself. I got lazy, and I threw the deer, the big buck. I put him on one of those plastic sleds and pulled him down the tar top road with my four wheeler, and the sled, the plastic got so hot it caught fire and caught my deer on fire, and it burned all the hair off of one side of his cape. Now I do my own taxidermy. He said, "No, I got to go find another cape for it." They're just listed in the. This is like, how
That's
dumb
funny.
is this guy? I start laughing and go, but so I says, I've come a long way from carrying two deer, but I carried those deer. I was 40, 44, 40, 45 years old at that point. But now I'm 66. So, the hard part of carrying two deer is actually killing the two deer.
So, when is your birthday?
December 9th.
Okay. Just so I know, I like to collect birthdays.
Yeah.
Um, so funny thing about burning deer. I shot a doe. Yeah, it was a doe with, I think it was the first deer I ever killed. It took me 7 years to kill my first deer. It was a procession of does walking on a ridge. I climbed this ridge. It must have been 1,200 yards straight up in New Jersey. And I was driving a 1966 Volkswagen. It was one of those Baja Beetles with the
Yeah.
big oversized tires and a giant
Yeah.
exhaust pipe.
Yeah.
So I shoot the deer. It dies. I do what I got to do. I get it down the hill. Now what do I do? I'm not going to stick it in the back seat. So I tie it to the back of the engine, to the hood, if you will, which is
Yeah.
kind of a half hood. Well,
Yeah.
I didn't tie it too well, and as I'm driving down the road, the deer slipped in the ropes and landed on the exhaust.
Yeah.
When I got it to the weigh station, half the deer was burnt to a crisp
Yeah.
from the exhaust, and the DNR guy looks at me, he goes, "Really?" And I was like, "Hey, man, whatever." I was able to eat half of it.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I love
Right. You
you
got a
know
better story than me. I made my story up.
yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. So I was looking at your video chasing. It's actually the third time I've watched it. Chasing
Okay.
Solitude on
Yeah.
YouTube,
Yes.
and third time I've watched it as of today, as of 5 o'clock today, 29,000 views. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. I don't know how they do the algorithms or whatever, how they push it, because I don't have a big following. But I get it as a primer because it's been out since 2018. I sell it as a DVD on my
Right.
website. A
Right.
lot of the traditional guys, they still do that. It's about the only way I can make my money. we streamed it for a little while, and then that kind of falls through because pay $15 for a download of a movie versus
Hmm.
$15 for everything that Netflix has, so it just becomes economics or whatever. And
Well,
to
I'll
me,
tell you,
that's
I'll tell you with YouTube. YouTube, you could have 29,000 viewers, but that's not monetizing the video. You
yeah,
have to get over 1,000 subscribers. That's
yeah,
tough.
yeah. So I'm not into that marketing too much. I'm just a traditional bow hunter, like a lot of us. We're
Yeah.
not good businessmen, whatever. And like I said, this is not my livelihood either. I mean, if it was, I'd probably, I'd be at it more. But so it's your passion. So that's why the stuff that I put out, or Gene and Barry and so forth put out, and my brothers, I think it turned out pretty well because we're not beholden to any sponsors or product endorsements or anything like that. And so for you to tell me that there's 29,000 views, I'm glad I reached that many people. And the beauty
Well,
of that
here's the thing
video,
too, because
Alaska.
I've watched it 3 times
Mhm.
since you put it out. And
Yeah,
I just love watching it because it's just what I'm into.
yeah,
Um, I could watch it 100 times.
yeah.
But
So
the
I have a sequel, like I mentioned before,
yeah,
called
let's talk about that.
Finding the Silence, Solo Bow Hunting in Alaska, subtitle. So Finding the Silence, that'll be the title. And I have a trailer out. I just actually launched the trailer again. It's been out for a little while, but you can look on it on my Facebook page, Herd Bull Productions. I also have my own Facebook page, Mike Mitten, but you can find it there. Finding the Silence, uh, Bow Hunting in Alaska, I think is the trailer name, with a subtitle, Compton's Traditional Bow Hunter. Because at the end, I sort of promote Compton's on that, but that'll give you a little flavor of what's to come. Uh, Chasing Solitude, a lot of the narrations were done after the fact, and laid over in the storyboard after the fact. And I can't recite very well, and I can write it, but then I try to read it. It doesn't come out genuine to me as much or whatever. It's great, but I mean, so the next video I did a lot of on camera narrations in time, right after the fact. Like if I miss a buck, or if I miss a moose, or I kill a moose or whatever, then I talk the narration shortly after that. Or if I see something, like the last couple of years, I've been calling moose, and a grizzly bear has been stalking me. It happened 3 times in 2 years that I get
E.
stalked by a grizzly bear. So when those happen, I try to, things like that, I try to talk, and then clothing, or what I'm wearing, or how the day's going. So every couple of days, I give sort of a quick update. And so I have those narrations done, in the face of the hunt, in the same location as the hunts. And so I think this one might come off as a little better, but we'll see. And again, this has been I did 2018, so this I have 5 years of solo moose hunting in the can for Finding the Silence, and I'll have another hunt coming up, this year. So hopefully we can tie it all together.
So I'm bouncing all over the place with my notes, which is fine because I like that. It's just off the
Mhm.
cuff. So, chapter 33 for your new book, Can High Tech Be Traditional? So,
Yeah,
well, I made the switch a few years back because I was wearing schnee boots, wool pants, wool jacket. I
yeah,
mean, 500 pounds of clothing.
yeah,
And I was like, no, because now that I'm traveling up back and forth to hunt from Florida to up north, I need to be stealthy,
yeah,
and I've invested in QU and Sitka gear, and
yeah,
it's been the best switch I've ever made in my life. I sold when we moved here to Florida. I had a massive yard sale, so in my driveway, which was 1,000 yards, well, no, it's not 1,000, 200 yards long, I put up every piece of clothing I had ever purchased, which was I had amassed probably 200 articles of clothing,
yeah,
camouflage and otherwise,
yeah.
in the driveway. I sold it all within a day. And,
Wow.
w-
Yeah.
and with that money, I invested in
Mm.
quality clothing to keep me stealthy and lightweight. And
Yeah.
I can't say enough about it. I'm sorry, guys. You know, traditional and all that stuff, wool and plaid and all that. Yeah, well, if you're traveling, that doesn't cut it.
Yeah, that's sort of how it pushed me that way. That and the fact that I was in 2007, I was on the pro staff. So one of the first people on the pro staff for Sitka Gear, right when they first started. And I was we had a supervisor of the traditional group or whatever, Dave Brinker and others. And so I was kind of working under them, and they would uh, do our suggestions and things that we would suggest. Like I had them sew a pocket on the inside seam of your leg to put your recurve or longbow in to hold it, support it a little bit, so that it takes the weight off of your arm when you're waiting there in a tree stand or even stalking. When an animal is coming or you're waiting, it takes that weight off, and there's less movement, and you have less fatigue, holding it up. That's just one suggestion, but there was others. But during those times, the early times, they would change the material and change the pattern, and the same title of the garment, but it would change from every couple of years, and they were, forcing people to, I guess, if they want to keep up with that's the latest and the greatest, people would buy those products. But for the people on the pro staff, we had to try to learn those things. And but the article itself is just more towards that's what you're talking about exactly. I mean, I started packing things into the wilderness. I mean, I'm walking 5 miles in and then having a base camp and then a spike camp from my base camp, and everything is heavy. My tents are heavy, everything was heavy, but I was strong, and eventually you start to wear out. But as age gets you, I mean, I was 47, 48 years old, during those times, when I first started with Sitka gear, and then just everything started lightening up, and then the younger guys, Steve Osminski and several others, they're all into the tech, the reading about what's the best thing coming, and tents and sleeping bags and pads and pack frames and boots, and it's just everything started getting lighter and lighter and lighter, and easier for me. But then I thought, out of all this stuff, I'm still traditional guy. I'm still hunting the same way.
Right.
And so that's sort of the premise of that article. It's kind of tongue in cheek, but anyway, I hope people enjoy that and take it, for what it's actually worth.
I
But
think the
and again, it was written multiple, several years back. So technology changes. So some of the stuff that I'm talking about, they don't even make it anymore in
Mhm.
the article, as as they advance, and Kuyu split off from Sitka gear and all that other stuff. So
Well, remember we were talking about weather earlier. We are now
yeah,
getting bombarded with
yeah,
thunderstorms. So it's
yeah.
raining so hard that I can't see 10 inches out the window.
Wow. Yep.
So that's fine. My grass will love it because the guy that got to cut my grass is going to curse me, or he's going to
Yeah.
curse Mother Nature because my
Yeah.
grass is now going to grow 3 inches taller,
Yeah.
which is fine. That's okay. So back to the modern clothing. I found merino wool in layers to be my
Yeah.
saving grace.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of the base layers for Sitka and Kuyu. A lot of them now. It's First Light. A lot of them. Merino wool.
I think First Light's a
Yeah.
little overpriced. Just my personal opinion.
Uh,
Um,
I don't know. I know where I heard that for decades with Sitka gear. And then I remember that I bought a pair of pants and a jacket for King of the Mountain wool, $750. So I mean, back in the early '90s, So
but
I,
I was
I
that guy.
related I related to how much I was making per hour or what my finances were. I go, boy, I invested very heavily in today's world,
Yeah.
because you can, that's about what
I
get or
think
whatever
I
for a
what I
Sitka
did is
setup.
I invested in sleeping Indian wool,
Yeah,
and which is just like King of the Mountain, but a
yeah,
little lower on the scale. Um, but then again, I was hunting in weather before
yeah,
hunting seasons got to be like 75 degrees in
yeah,
October, November. I was
yeah,
hunting in 30-degree weather, so it
yeah.
worked out great. But anyway, hey, how's Herd Bull 2? Are you still using that bow?
Actually, I just brought it back out, blew the dust off it, and shot a 400-pound bear in Saskatchewan. in May of this year, and then last year I used it all season. I didn't kill a buck, but I shot two does with it. But yeah, you're referring to the one piece bow that I
Yeah.
talk about in chapter one of the book, which it was 2009 when I built that. So uh, since then I've been using a lot of tall tines, and Brian Wetzel's a friend of mine, so he's come out with he sold tall tines archery, tall tines bows, and then he went stopped building bows. But now he's come back with Wessel archery. So I was using some of his bows in the meantime for Brian, and then South Cox, Tim Neville's, and Gary Hall from D&M Custom Arrows,
Oh
and
yeah.
Drew and Andy and Debbie from Selway. They all got together. These four people got together and put a package together, a bow from South Cox off of his stalker recurve, the Wolverine model, and they very similar woods, and made a sort of a replica or commemorative wood bowl similar to this herd bowl too, which was waterfall Babinga riser, and they engraved or laser engraved the image of me carrying those two bucks, and they numbered them one to 10, and 0 to 10, and they sold that package, sort of the herd bowl package, and I think they sold out in 24 hours, all 10 bows with the arrow package, and
That's awesome.
the arrows were similar to what I use, the orange and yellow that I killed the big moose with, and what I've been using in Africa and so forth. And so it's kind of a humbling compliment to what I use, and sort of be like Mike type of thing or whatever. But it was humbling to know that they sold all the bows that quick. But they're out there somewhere. Actually, I just saw one of them, the herd bull. I think it was bull number 2 or 3, um, at a shoot in Wisconsin at the Horicon Marsh shoot. There was a young man there from further north, up near Gleason area. And he was shooting the bow, and so it kind of makes you feel good. But anyway, that the original herd bull I killed two does, and in Saskatchewan I shot a real nice black bear just in May of this year.
Sweet, sweet. And that bow, I mean, how did you learn how to make bows?
A friend of mine named Brandon Bird, he lives by us here, and he was making bows a little bit, just on your own and stuff. And I go, oh man, that's pretty neat. He said, where'd you get the wood? Well, right over there in Waukegan. I live in Beach Park, Illinois. Well, in Waukegan, Illinois, was Johnny G from Old Master Crafters, so that was right there. He cut
Yeah.
a lot of veneers and tapered wedges and all kinds of wood he sold for everybody, all the bowyers and stuff. It was right here in town, so he helped me with the layout. And I loved the Brackenberry bows when I first started from switching over from compound that shot with no sights or anything, instinctive shot compound to traditional again back in the 80s, and I got a Brackenberry drifter. And then when he passed away, I got a Wes Wallace, and I used the outline of the Wes Wallace takedown as a one piece, and then he helped me lay it out, and I made 3 bows off of that form. And I didn't have the top plate and all that. So if you read in the book chapter 2, you can see I had drilled holes and just used big C clamps all the way down, like the old days.
Hmm.
So the bow, and then to make a recurve, a one piece recurve, they don't sometimes stay together. They don't quite go as your first bows too well, but this one's holding up pretty well. People seem to like it. And
Yeah.
another friend of mine from Minnesota shot it for the first time, and boy, he just loved it. But there's 64-inch bow. Everybody who pulls like a 64-inch bow, oh, it's so smooth, it's this or that. Well, yeah, it's because it's a long bow. But they don't care for that length a lot of times. But when they draw it
Oh,
back, it's this nice, smooth feeling bow to them. So, but it's beautiful. Put it in the sun. I put like a little bit semi gloss finish to it so that the grain pops and everything. And this the waterfall Babinga almost like a mirage or a hologram almost, the way it looks in the sun sometimes. And
Mhm.
a lot of times you're sitting in your tree stand, that's all you got to look at or enjoy is, your handiwork or your bow. It's not saying that it's boring out there, but you know what I mean. If you're sitting in trees for many hours a day.
Oh yeah, for sure. So let me switch gears here. So you're known for whitetail bear, turkey, namely moose. Have you had any aspirations to hunt something different, like an oudad or
Down in
rams for that matter?
Yeah, my wife loved sheep and rams, and I would always show her pictures or look at Doll sheep or bighorn sheep, and she was always loving those, and why don't you ever hunt those? And so, and if you know me and most of my writing, I'm just a regular guy, and so it was even pretty quickly in the late '80s, it got priced out of my range. Most of that stuff. You don't live out west, so it's hard to you know, think about putting in for draws and all that, So I always aspired to it, but I never got to do it. But climbing around some of the places I've been chasing elk and mule deer, you feel like you're on a sheep hunt on some of those times, and even some moose hunts I get pretty well elevated, but not nothing like a true sheep hunt. But I've gone to Africa, so some of that's in the book, but the Audad stuff and everything would be nice. I think Denny Sturgis, he's been hunting hard down in Texas on a lot of free range stuff down there, and so he's been getting into some pretty good, climbing type critters and stuff. But I have a friend, Brian Burkhart. He's hunting in Hawaii after uh, some great deer and axis or Sika deer. I'm not. I think
Yeah, I
they're
think they have access deer.
exit here.
Yeah.
So, and then you get pretty elevated and you're huffing and puffing, climbing after those guys too. But it's hard for me to break away from moose right now. I got away from it for a while. I hunted a lot of elk and mule deer and stuff during the 2000s. And, but once I got my flair back for moose again in 2014, it was the 10-year anniversary of Art Slyer's passing. And I hunted solo moose hunt in the Chugach mountain range of Alaska. Ended up shooting a moose, and then I got the moose bug again pretty good. And within I don't know another 5 years, I had retired, and so financially I was okay. So and then just making films and Chasing Solitude came out, and so moose, people. It's my website, Herd Bull Productions, more or less a tip of the hat to elk out west. Herd bull, but I've been chasing moose now. my last year was my 11th solo moose hunt, so
Hmm.
it's hard for me to break that allure if you look
Oh, I
for a
get
book
it.
in the book. But so that's kind of where I'm at, chasing moose mostly.
So, Mike, DIY hunting in Alaska, is it doable for the average Joe, or what are the most difficult challenges?
Yeah, I mean, people want to do it and they dream about it, and you got to try to afford some of the stuff. But there's lots of different outfitters and ways to get in if you can go off the roads, and if you're satisfied with any bull, try to get into a unit that doesn't have the size restrictions. But as like you just mentioned, some of these temperatures and things changing, a lot of snow's been piling up in Alaska and certain areas, and you have die off, so I
Right.
can get established in a pretty good hunt unit. I can go back and learn it, and then once you go more times, you can whittle down some of the expenses. You can shave off this or that, and you deal with a air taxi. If you know where to go, then you're paying an air taxi versus a flying service versus an outfitter. You said do it yourself, so you're stuck with either an air taxi, in my opinion, or a flying service. A flying service will help you and give you advice on where to go in their area or where they can reach. Um, but an air taxi, they're not supposed to give you any input versus you just putting a dot on a map. So legally, they're not supposed to give you
I got a dead zone here with the
You
feed.
advise go to
Oh,
spots
oh,
they've had some gear if you're doing a float trip or maybe even a spike camp ahead of time, and then you can travel with less, less worry with less equipment because
mhm.
it takes so much equipment to go. And I've been doing it enough where I'm real refined where I can get dropped in a super cub and get dropped in for 3 weeks with enough gear to live for 3 weeks in one shot, whereas other people, they don't want to rough it so much, because it's hard. So they want to have the amenities in camp that, taller tents or bigger tents or maybe a stove in their camp, in their tent, or something. So they're willing to pay for an extra flight, so
S-
all these things fall into the expense. But everybody's got to have the same expense off the start. They got to get to Alaska if you're going to fly from wherever you live. You got to get airfare to Anchorage or Fairbanks or Bettles or Kotzebue, wherever you're going, and then you need to get a hunting license, which is $800 for a moose, and a hunting license, so it'd be about $900. So you're already your airfare at 900 before you even start. Then you need all the gear and equipment that you use basically for out west elk hunting, just transferred over, a little more rain gear and stuff. But and how long you're going? If you're going to go for 7 days to 10 days, it's doable. But you got to know that Alaska has a lot of rain, and you might cut your trip short by the weather. You don't have enough time, and then as you read into some of my works, and you kind of I pick my brain, so to speak, with my words, you find out that I'm staying a while, 3 weeks, because I'm priming the pump. I'm trying to prime the pump, but through calling in the same areas as I got older. I can't go out and move as far away from camp as I used to and kill an animal, but I still go out as far. I call back like the Pied Piper technique, and I bring it back. So it's a long way to say there's a lot going on, and then can it be affordable? Is mainly your question. You could go in on the Hall Road in different places. You can get in with the 4x4s and things like that, and everybody knows, not everybody, but a lot of people know somebody or a friend or something, relatives or something like that. They can get in cheaper. But the average guy, you're going to want to fly in to get away from all that, because
right.
a lot of those drive-in type hunts, they're subject to weather as well. Those rivers that they're crossing flood, and these guys are stranded for multiple weeks on the other side of the river, or
Yeah.
have to have airplane trying to get them out for rescue and all this. So a lot goes on. And then you got to decide whether you want a float trip. I've never done float trips, but that is a good avenue to see a lot of territory and maybe find the moose, because people think that there's a lot of moose there behind every bush. That's far
No.
from the truth. So I get around it by walking out far. If you read uh, one with the wilderness, and even South Cox is actually reading right now on his posted on his podcast right now a chapter from my book. It's called the Dedina River, solo moose hunt on Dedina River. That was in 2002, and there I shoot a moose 9 miles from where I was originally dropped, but I had moved downriver a long way and found a new camp and found a new landing strip 6 miles downriver. And then I went out from there and ended up foolishly or whatever, or forced to. I shot a moose 3 miles from there. And then I ended up having a 3 mile pack job. But again, I was 43
Oh,
years
yeah.
old, whatever, at
Right.
that time. But the expenses, they're not going to get any cheaper. Your pilots are going to be anywhere. Super Cubs are $500 to $600 an hour flying time in general, and beavers and stuff are 12 to 1500 an hour flying time. But you can pack more people all in one trip. You can divide it easier. I'm going alone, and I'm trying to getting away from people. I'm dropping in on small beaver ponds and stuff, or short landing strips that require special aircraft and a special flying skills from your pilot. So all those things play into it. I mean, it can be done. I mean, but
It's going to cost either way.
yeah, yeah.
So, Mike, I got to ask you, for a young and upcoming bow hunter, what piece of advice would you give them in their bow hunting journey?
Boy, that's good. I mean, the most advice, is don't sit on your heels. Do it now. Do it, even if you are young. Try to find a way. Either if you're married or have a family, still try to find a way to get that experience at least once. It'll help you.
Right.
Even with a lot of more aspects of your life. I mean, to me at work, I have all the unsurmountable tasks when I was working in the pharmaceutical industry, and I always tell myself, boy, it's really hard. I don't know if I can get this in a certain timeline and the pressures and the stress. But it's not as hard as packing out a moose. So I put it
No.
into perspective and
Right.
I kind of go from there. So, but anyway, I guess the best advice is just go, it's like Nike or whatever, just do it, just try to do it best you
I
can.
mean,
If you have, if you
my
have a dream,
advice
if you have a
for the
dream, try to do it.
my advice to the younger guys that have a spouse and family and whatnot. I'm lucky in that I have a wife that grew up in a hunting family, fishing
Yeah.
family, so she knows what I do. And that was the first thing when I first proposed it. Hey, this is what I do. So if you
Yeah.
can't handle that, this ain't gonna work out. And no,
Yeah.
it's been fantastic. She's supported me 110%. So
Yeah.
guys, that's what you need to establish that, especially if you're dating somebody.
Yeah.
Get that out of the way. Let them know what you do,
Yeah.
and get them on board.
That,
I'm not being sexist or anything like that. It's just being truthful. You have to be truthful.
Yeah, find the balance, and like you said, you can also. That's the first, the dedication in my first book, One with the Wilderness, has the same sentiment that you're talking about there. But yeah, people think it's beyond their reach. You can start small too. I mean, like I talk about self reliance or whatever. When you're building that self reliance, building that woodsmanship, you can't pick up a bow and think you're going to go on a solo moose hunt. But if you could go on a hunt with somebody else out west for elk and build yourself up to that point, and then go with somebody moose hunting first or whatever, and then if that's your cup of tea. But a lot of people, they don't enjoy it. They don't like the being alone. They love hunting with their buddies and all that. And
Yeah,
I get all that, and that's great. And I would not stray from that.
that's me.
Yeah.
I like hunting with my buddy John or my
Yeah.
buddy Jim, and just I like the camaraderie.
Oh yeah, and
You
I
know,
get that too because every year, like if you read the book and stuff, and I hunt a bear, black bear, and whitetails with my brothers and stuff like that. So and then hogs or javelina, whatever, down in Texas, and I hunt some ranches down in Texas where they need to have some of the overburden called off or whatever. Shot a lot of does and things like that. So there's plenty of time for me to have those types of hunts. But when I'm the species that I like to do out west or the Rocky Mountains and stuff. It's not by design. I didn't plan it. It's just something that happened. You're planning a moose hunt, in Alaska, and you're ready to go, or trying to
hmm
go to Colorado, you're ready to go, and then your partner, your buddy, can't make it. He drops out. Well, I just went anyway, and once I started doing that, and guys are building points, and they forget to put in for a year, then you're off track, and you're trying to build for points for these units.
right.
I end up basically taking care of myself then at that point, and then I just started getting into it. And it's a dangerous thing, solo hunting. I mean, it's in the back of your head. The safety is in the back of your head, and maybe you will get caught off guard. That's not to say you wouldn't get caught off guard in a bad situation with your buddy with you in camp as well. But it's just something I do. I don't know. I don't think I'm putting my head in the lion's mouth type of thing going on a solo moose hunt, but I am much more attuned to what's going on, and I don't. I used to really go after them, chase hard, go after elk hard, try to get to the top, and get to their bedding areas ahead of them, and all these types of things. But when I'm solo moose hunting, I don't do any of that. Don't do much of that. I'm mostly getting them come to me, and every sort of step is kind of deliberate, and every knife stroke when you're skinning is deliberate, and all these things are in the back. It's in the back of your head, and maybe the first time, yeah, I was probably overthinking stuff, but now everything comes second nature. Like I said, I've had over 300, and I don't know, over 325 or 300 30 something days solo, overnight solo on solo hunts that were designed for that,
Mhm.
not that were extended hunts that were designed for that, not just little weekend things like 3 days. I didn't add any of those in over the years. So
That's awesome. So, what's in store for you for the rest of this year and into 26?
so September I'll be back to Alaska again and hopefully do battle with a great moose. I have, if you read a chapter called in the book called Finding the Silence, I got into a little trouble with a bull and ended up missing one, and another one got away. And I did kill one on the last day, but I have another date with a couple of those bulls up there in my mind, still in the solo scenario. I mean, I may ask people or find people to hunt with me again in upcoming years, but right now I'm still planning on solo moose hunting in Alaska for 3 weeks, and then I drew an Iowa tag, so I'll be hunting Iowa for whitetails, and
Mm.
along with my beloved whitetails in Illinois on the property that I own with my brother and other areas in Illinois for whitetails. So I'll be pretty busy and full all the way through January, the end of January, and then I plan on hunting Manitoba black bear as well as Saskatchewan black bear
Mhm.
in May. If you're driving up there, you might as well get more bang for your buck. So
So,
anyway,
I got to ask you,
opportunities present themselves, and you can't turn it down, type of thing.
where you're at in Illinois, how far are you from, let's say, Kenosha, Wisconsin?
Oh, Kenosha is probably,
It's an hour below Milwaukee.
yeah. My son lives there. My son lives in Kenosha. It's 30 minutes to where he lives, but the edge of Kenosha is 10-minute drive.
Because that's where my family is.
Yeah.
So,
So I'm
next
right
time,
in the yeah. So I'm right in the northeast corner of the state where I live, of Illinois, right against Lake Michigan, and a mile from the Wisconsin border. And Kenosha, Pleasant Prairie, then
yeah.
Kenosha is right over the border. So it's right here. It's right there.
Next time I'm up there, I'll look you up. We'll get
Okay.
together, have some dinner.
Yeah. Sure, it'd be great.
Uh,
I don't hunt much around this county anymore. It's pretty overgrown. So
yeah.
I drive 3 hours or so to where I hunt in Illinois. I have turkeys coming up now, so I didn't used to have them, but been kind of after turkey. And there's a couple chapters in my book about turkey, and
Oh, yeah.
professional or accomplished turkey hunters will probably laugh at the novice writing and the novice techniques I use, but guys that are just starting out, they can relate can relate to some
Yeah.
of those chapters. So anyway, those are what they are. I'm not, I've killing a few now. I'm starting to get into them, and I like the turkeys, so I'll be kind of busy with that. And of course, looking for shed antlers and things like that. We always did in January. So pretty full from now until next May or so.
Well, I will see you at the PBS banquet in March,
Yeah,
correct? Yep.
yeah. That'll
Okay.
be in Indianapolis, right? Is that where?
Yep.
Yeah,
hmm I've
yeah,
already booked my rooms, so I'm just looking for good airfare, which I think I found plane tickets pretty cheap through Spirit, $100 round trip.
yeah. There you
So,
go. That's the thing with Alaska. Try to, you know, do what you can. If you have to, don't go cheap. But I mean, there's expenses up there. I know
so
for
what's funny is, Spirit Airlines, their planes are the worst. Their seats are horrendous. It's like sitting on a two by four. So I
yeah.
take my padded hunting seat with me,
There you
and my
go.
wife takes one too, and we
Yeah,
sit on those. We're like kings
yeah,
and queens, baby.
yeah. Bleachers. Like you're in the bleachers, rooting on your favorite team, your
Right?
kids'
So,
team or kids' soccer.
Mike, I'm winding down here. How can
Yeah.
folks get a hold of you and get a hold of these books?
Okay, you can go to herdbullproductions.com. So just like a big old bull elk, the herd bull Productions. Make sure you write it out like that. otherwise you're going to get into some breeding programs for, Angus or something.
Well, speaking of that, next week I have a guy who allows me to hunt on his ranch in Mexico,
Yeah,
and he is the rancher. So we're going
yeah,
to talk about breeding programs.
yeah.
How
Okay.
crazy is that? Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's
Anyway, Herd Bull Productions, and I'm also on Facebook or whatever. You can
okay.
on Messenger or something like that on Facebook, but I'm not out there too much. And then hopefully by next year I'll have some dealers and things like that, and we can promote at least the Enchantment of Bowhunting will be out, and hopefully the sequel to Chasing Solitude.
Awesome. I can't wait. So, Mike, I want to thank you for your time tonight. Appreciate you coming on and giving me your time. Um, and I wish you the best. I wish you the best for your sales on your books and good luck, safe travels this year hunting.
Yeah,
And folks, mental health is a big issue. So love each other, respect each other, and take care of each other. So with that, I'm going to end it. So we'll talk to you another time, brother.
thanks, Rich, and also thanks again for that artwork. If people get this book, they'll see a little handiwork from Rich here, and
Oh, and by the way, folks,
how
there's
talented he is.
by the way, folks, go to Comptons.com. Compton's is it Compton Archery or ComptonBowhunters.com?
Compton's traditional bow hunters.
Okay. My artwork is there as well, so please support it.
Yeah.
All right, brother. You have a good
Thanks,
night.
Rich. Yep.
Take care.
Same to you. Thank you
All
so
right.
much.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye.